I guess what I would tell someone like struggling with mental health is, one, like really assess what's causing you trauma and what's causing you to feel this way, and like what's causing you to be depressed. Like if it is friends, it's time to say bye.
Today, we're going to be talking about friends, relationships, friendships, what have you. Taylor and I, well, mostly me, I've been talking about how the lifelong friend is becoming an exceptionally rare thing, and we're just going to talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
So, I guess like for you, Taylor, do you have or have had what you would refer to as like a lifelong friend, and like who would that be?
No, I don't think I do. My longest lasting friendship, his name was Jake Worthy.
Okay.
We were just we were the best of friends.
How old were you guys?
Let's see. I met Jake when I was probably about 18 or 19.
Okay.
We like started a band together. It was right after I was in college, so 19.
Okay.
Yeah, we started a band together and we were friends for about 9 years. And what I realized in that friendship was that it was really one-sided. Like I was just putting a ton of work into our friendship.
Yeah.
And it was, it just wasn't being like reciprocated in a way that I like desired out of the friendship. And so one day for my birthday, so he lived in a different state towards the end of our friendship, and he like moved away to do his own thing, and we stayed in touch and everything. And for my birthday, Lynn bought me tickets out there to go visit him, and he lived in Portland. I think he still does. But yeah, so Lynn got me some plane tickets and everything to go visit him in Portland for my birthday. And she had been like coordinating with him for like a couple months, I think, before leading up to my birthday.
Yeah.
And like when we got there, it was like such a disappointment because he didn't even like get off work or anything.
Oh, what?
To like hang. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And he just like, he wasn't even there most of the time. And what actually still saved that trip for me was some of Lynn's friends who lived in California actually drove up 6 hours to like also just come hang out with us. So luckily like they were there like the second half of the trip.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like barely even saw him.
Was that like the last straw for you?
That was the last straw for me.
Okay.
Yep. That's when I like fully realized that I was like, you know what? Like I need to just surrender the friendship. And so I just talked to him. I was just like, I don't think this friendship is going to work out. Like it's causing me more stress than anything. And you really just kind of proved how much you care about me.
Yeah.
Through this whole trip. So
yeah. How do you approach friendships? Because like I think we're very similar in the fact that if we care about someone, if we like, for lack of a better term, attach ourselves to another person, we're going to do everything we can, like within reason, I'd say, to put the work in, build the relationship, build the friendship, deal with conflict, talk about hard stuff if it needs to be done. Why do you think that's hard for some people?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I think a lot of people are afraid of conflict, or they like are afraid of even just, they're just afraid to get into the hard stuff, which is the real friendship, which I think you and I probably know that. The real stuff is when shit gets hard.
Yeah.
Everything else is just like surface friendships,
Yeah. Have you ever been the person to not put the work in, or to like I think the term is like ghost a friend, just like fall off the face of the earth. Like, have you ever done that to somebody?
Not that I know of, but if any of my friends are listening to this and want to call me out on that, please do. But not that I know of. No, it kind of always happens. So one of the reasons I think I don't have any / very many friends, I think I probably have 3, like you included in that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like anytime I feel hurt or like weird or uncomfortable about something, I always like say it like immediately.
Yeah.
It doesn't like sit with me for very long.
Yeah.
Like I had this, so one of my good friends, one of the 3, like his wife, I guess, I don't know what the deal was, if it was like an oversight or something like that, but I didn't get invited to his birthday party.
Okay.
And she kind of, well, I'll tell the whole story first, but so basically when I heard that, I was just like, man, that's really hurtful. Like we hang out quite a bit, you know?
Yeah.
So I just texted her like instantly.
Yeah.
And I was just like, hey, I just wanted you to know that I felt really hurt about not being invited to so-and-so's birthday. And like, if you want to talk to me about it, or if you have it, like, if there was a reason for it, I'd love to just discuss it with you.
Yeah. And
just figure it out together. But I just want to let you know that hurt me.
Yeah.
And she did not respond for like, it was like, I think it was a day, maybe a day or 2 days. I can't remember.
Sure.
But this was really recent. This was like last week, I think. But she was basically like, I just got like so upset by your text message and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, the deal was I like just completely didn't plan anything. It was all last minute and it was like an oversight that you weren't invited. So I'm sorry that you did that. And the thing I didn't get worked out with her, I kind of just was like, I was kind of just like, okay, like I can see that. Like, thank you for talking to me about it. But I don't understand why you were upset. And then, you know, no response after that. But, because for me, I was just like, why? Like I was trying to put I'm a very empathetic person.
Yeah.
So I was like, I was trying to put myself in the shoes of like, why would this anger like come? Like, where did the anger come from?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, because if the roles were reversed and someone was talking to me about my wife's birthday, and I didn't invite them and they were like, hey, I was hurt that you didn't invite me, I would have been like, oh man, I'm so sorry. Like, let's talk about it. Like, I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding that we can like work out.
Let's deal with it.
Let's discuss it, you know?
Do you think like in the like empathy, like being able to put yourself into the shoes of another person, do you think that's necessary in a friendship?
Oh, absolutely. I think empathy is necessary as a human.
Yeah, I agree.
Like if you don't have empathy for someone and what they're going through, then you are missing the fundamental human experience of a relationship in your life.
Yeah. And that's like, I would say that's the full breadth of it, that the highs and the lows all together and then everything in between. I would say, and this is just my opinion, that if you only are there for the good stuff and maybe shy away from the hard conversations, I don't think you can really call yourself someone's friend at that point.
Yeah, and that's interesting you say that too, because I think the word friend gets like thrown around like so much, and to people like us, I think the word friend like holds weight, just like most words for us do. Yeah. You know? So it's, like Lynn always makes fun of me for this too, but I always like correct her, or like in conversation if I'm being spoken about. Yeah. They're like, hey, your friend, blah, blah. Hold on. That's an acquaintance. Yeah. You know what I mean? Totally. And like, they're like, well, you don't have to be so specific with your words. And I was like, well, what are they there for then?
Yeah. Like words matter. Like, I feel like, all right, we're just going to talk about this. Let people saying, I love you, you know, I think there's a huge problem in culture at large that it's just a flippant thing that you say. it doesn't carry a lot of weight for most people, I would say. And maybe that's unfair, but in my experience, it's just words. It's just a couple of words stringed together because maybe people feel like that's what they're supposed to say. That's what they're supposed to feel. I don't know, but it's almost become like a cheap Hallmark slogan rather than like an actionable thing. Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't think I've observed it enough. Yeah, I don't know if I've observed it enough because anytime I say it, I know that I have weight.
Totally.
But I also like wouldn't like ostracize someone if they were just like, "Hey, love you, bro," and like high five or whatever. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Like I would, but I also like don't expect anything from it because I think that that's what that word to me means anyway. Is that anytime you say it, like if you say like "I love you, man," or "I love you" to your spouse or your girlfriend or whatever, it's down to you and your heart what that means, and like if you're putting in the work like we talked about in the beginning into that relationship. Yeah. So it's almost just like, so for me, I haven't really given it too much thought because whenever I say it, I'm just like, yeah, I know what that means for me. Yeah. And I don't know what it means for you. Yeah. So I'm just not going to expect anything from it, you know?
So it's kind of a relative term.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not mad when people say it or anything. I'm just like, for me, it's just, what does that mean within yourself? Yeah. And if it's great, then it's going to be a good friendship. But my story personally is just so full of betrayal from everybody, including my wife and everybody. Yeah. So I wouldn't say I'm jaded or anything because I always have a hopeful heart that something will be different. Yeah. But it definitely makes it easier on me now because I don't like expect anything. So when someone comes through for me, it's really awesome and it's really nice and it means a lot to me because I'm used to it never working out. So I have almost been trained not to have any expectations ever. And business is almost the same way. Yeah. Like, to be honest with you, instead of relationships, like, I know what I can expect out of the employees, and if they don't, then you can fire them or whatever, of course. But like, it's still nice when they come through, you know, or they go above and beyond their expectations. Yeah. Like that's always nice. And that's kind of like how I kind of view it with friendships too. Like when someone comes through, I'm like, yes, that's so nice. And that might be why I don't have very many friends is because I don't really depend on people very much.
Well, some people might say that that outlook or that lack of expectation could seem a little calloused. I know some people have accused me of that because I'm very similar. I don't think it is though. I think it's not even like a defense thing. It's just like life would be a lot simpler. And there's less room for like hurt feelings if I don't hold you to the standard that I like am putting on you. Like, is that similar for you as well, or is it a little different?
So I would agree that what you're doing is unhealthy. And what I'm trying to say is a little bit different, and I can expand on what I'm saying.
Yeah, please.
So what I'm saying when I don't expect anything out of anybody, it's more just like I don't like if I ask you to do something, then I will expect you to do it. Sure. You know what I mean? But I'm not like expecting anything from the friendship other than great hangs and things like that.
Totally.
So what I think you're in the realm of is that you're protecting yourself from being let down, which is different than what I'm trying to express.
Yeah. Can you expand on that?
Yeah. So what I'm trying to express is if you want to, or if you expect something from somebody and they don't come through, then you need to deal with that pain. Yeah. Because if you don't, then again, it's not a real friendship. Like if I was just like, yeah, Steven, like we're going to hang out like this day and then you canceled. Sure. I would expect, one, I was expecting to hang out with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then two, when you canceled, I would let you know if it was a big deal or not.
Sure.
You know, if it was consistent,
yeah,
I would probably let you know, like the first time or two, I probably wouldn't say anything. I'd be like, oh,
Yeah.
bummer. Like, no big deal though. Like, I
Sure.
get it. But if you were just like, hey man, I can't do it anymore with no explanation or something,
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, hey, well, that's a bummer because I was really looking forward to seeing you.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, and just kind of have a discussion with you from that.
Sure.
And you can correct me if I'm wrong, what I heard you say was basically like, I'm not even expecting to actually hang out if I schedule something with you.
Oh, no, that's not what I was saying. I was more saying of like, or asking what the difference is in like a way of thinking, you know, like if you, like for some people, it might be like like you should expect something from your friends. But I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think we are very similar because I would also say like, dude, like I'm bummed. Like I want to hang out with you. I want to see you. I miss your face. You know, I tell my friends that all the time. But I guess like that, I feel like what we're talking about is like a thin line. It's just like a couple degrees off, and it could become that kind of
true.
harsh, callous, like, no, like walls are up, not letting anyone in, to extending grace, like, to like, to being let down, like being open to being let down and extending grace in those moments. But if it meant something to you, where that there's a hurt or a pain or an offense, you care enough about that other person
to talk to them
about it.
Yeah, it was actually, I was just talking to that same friend the other day, and I was telling him, because his birthday was a couple weeks before I even heard that we weren't invited to it, you know? So he was just like, yeah, I didn't tell you sooner because I didn't want your feelings to get hurt. And like what I told him was, you're protecting me without my consent.
Yeah.
And like, that's not okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like that phrase, I think really, hopefully it kind of like hit a light bulb in him, because you should never just like not communicate something to someone, especially a friend, if you're protecting them without them knowing that you're protecting them. You know?
Yeah.
Like that's,
I've never heard that before. That's
you're just
really
doing
interesting.
it without consent at that point. Like it's not, it's almost like you told me with your friend that one time where we talked to, next to the fire, and I was just like, it sounds like you're not telling this person this thing without them knowing, to protect them.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
Which is, you're protecting them without consent at that point.
Absolutely.
Like it's not up to you how they handle the information. They should handle the information. You can always be there to help them handle the information.
Yeah.
But at that point, you're holding two burdens. Like you're holding the one on yourself and you're holding the one for your friend by protecting them. I did air quotes.
Yeah. Air quotes. This is what air quotes sound like. No, that's such a great point. And like, I've never thought about it that way, of like, it's almost like in my mind, it's selfish, guised as care. So selfishness guised as care.
Yeah.
How do you personally like avoid that pitfall? Like, is
By
it just
communicating instantly?
Yeah.
Like
just not even letting anything like swell up or sitting on it. Like, I feel this, here's what I feel.
Yeah, because I'm not perfect. Like I still do this. And then when I realize it, I immediately communicate. But how I've not been able to just feel like that all the time, and is just by immediately communicating. Sometimes there is times where you'll want to process it for a little bit, but you need to know yourself enough to know how much time is okay.
Yeah.
But then you need to do it, you know? So yeah, my advice would just be to communicate instantly.
Yeah.
So even with work, I would do these things. Like I have a work example that happened recently. So I had sold my ad agency, and I was in the transition out period.
Yeah.
And just one day I was like really busy with inherent things, and it was just really great meetings. And my phone just kept like going off from multiple people like, hey, these websites or whatever got hacked, and like I need help figuring out what happened.
Yeah.
And blah, blah, blah. And like I tried my best to, I like helped fix them and stuff like that. But I was like so packed in my schedule that day that I was like trying to like do it. And I realized that I was just getting so stressed out throughout the day because all I was communicating to the people still at the ad agency were like, yeah, I'll help you try and fix it. And this, instead of like saying, yeah, I'll help you try and fix it, but I will have to do it in between my other things because this is like where I'm at in my life right now. And like, I need you to like respect that my time has already been spoken for.
Yeah.
But instead of saying that, I was just like, yeah, I'll try to help you. So like I kept getting texts like, hey, is it good yet? Like what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And the stress that I was holding from just not telling them that I was like working on other stuff too was just building and building. And it was just a lot of pressure, you know? And when I finally like realized that, I was like, oh, I just need to tell them that I'm feeling a ton of pressure from you because of how often you're texting me about this. And I'm also like trying to finish my other schedule out too. So I immediately just expressed that to them. And they, of course, were like super understanding, which is 99% of the time what will happen. Yeah. They'll just be like, oh, awesome. Yeah. Like no problem. Like I totally get that. Yeah. But they didn't have that information before. Like all the information they're receiving from me was like, yeah, I'll help you do it. Yeah. Like I'm working on it, like whatever. Yeah.
So almost like, not insulating yourself, but setting up, healthy boundaries that you're aware of that you can also communicate to whatever party, or person you need to communicate those to.
Yeah, and it's all about really knowing your capacity. I actually did a post on that today on my Instagram.
Yeah, I saw that. It was great.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's all about knowing your capacity, because if you can get in touch with your capacity of like where you're at emotionally on the emotional range and where you're at like on the physical range too, like you're just going to be able to prioritize your time so much better. Like for example, sometimes my capacity is like very, very small and sometimes it's very, very large. Yeah. And I need to like know about that. So for example, sometimes if like my baby wakes up 4 times a night and I'm exhausted the next day, my capacity for like errors within myself or other people is like slim. Like I'll need everything to like just get done quickly and correctly. Yeah. And, and so sometimes when it doesn't work out correctly and my capacity is really small and I can just feel like frustration, one, I just communicate that frustration. Sure. Because I'm like, hey, I understand this wasn't your fault. I'm a little bit frustrated about it. I also like haven't gotten any sleep though. Yeah. And like, I'm still just trying to like run this thing. That immediately forever, that person usually will understand. Yeah. Be like, I get it. Like,
I mean, we've all experienced that. Everyone's experienced that, being lack of sleep leading to being like short.
Yeah, totally. Lack of sleep or just any emotional thing too. Like you could be in an emotional crisis with your spouse or something, but you still have to go to work and still perform. You're still expected to perform. But if you're checking in with yourself constantly, like I almost say like moment by moment sometimes, because your mood and your mental health can switch that quickly. But if you're constantly checking in yourself and looking at your capacity and then looking at your to-dos and like how to,
how am I feeling
to mesh them
right now? Yep. How am I right now?
Yeah. I have another example of that too.
Yeah, please.
So I did this interview with the Savvy, I think it's called. I'm so sorry if you're listening. It's like Unscripted Radio. Okay. I know it's one of their series, but on Unscripted Radio for sure. The host was Christina. She was awesome. But what happened was when I got in there, it was like an open kind of radio show. Yeah. So it was like a Zoom call though. So like people could join. Normally they're like muted and they're just listeners. So like anybody can join and just listen in the live interview. But something technically happened, or she got hacked or something like that. Yeah. And just like 180 like bots or like just bad people like came up there and they were just like whispering and like yelling and screaming, and there was like pornographic like noises on there, and it was just like, And I was just trying to like stay calm and just like wait. And so I was just listening to these horrible, like racist, like all these terrible things just like in my headphones.
Yeah.
And I was like waiting for her to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I was totally understandable. She obviously didn't mean for that to happen, and like 100% not her fault.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to wait there. But I eventually got like kicked off because she had to like reset it.
Mm-hmm.
And so like she reset it. And when the thing like went down, I was like, I like checked in with myself and I was like, I am not okay after hearing all that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like I am like that like messed with me a bit, because I was expecting to come on, have a great conversation with the thing, and then I'm just hearing all this trash.
Yeah.
And so I had to, she like emailed me. She's like, hey, I'm so sorry. She was amazing. She's like, hey, I'm so sorry. Like, here's a private link for this thing. Like, would you come and like finish the interview? And I was like texting my agency, my PR agency. I was like, I don't know if I'm in the right headspace to like finish this interview now. Like, it like really messed with me, some of the stuff that was said in there. And so I was just like, I really need to, so I was just like texting them, kind of let them know where they're at. And they were like, well, if it's private, like, and you're feeling okay about it, like get in there. So I was like, okay, just give me like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So like in the 5 minutes, I just I recognized, I was able to identify that I just wasn't feeling okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't in the right headspace to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I just like took my like headphones out and stuff like that. And then just kind of like walked around and
recentered yourself.
Recentered and like just kind of really like focused, and was just like, I just needed a minute, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then I like got on the interview and it was great. And I loved that interview. It was so fun.
Yeah.
And it ended up being great, but that's just an example. If I would have just jumped right back in to the private link and did it, it probably would have been a terrible interview. I wouldn't have been able to focus, all this kind of stuff. And
well, it's like, I can imagine our listeners, some of them being like, I can do that. You know, like, yeah, like you have permission to like take care of yourself and to make sure that you're in a healthy place, like mentally, spiritually, physically, you know, like almost like, I forget it's some cosmetic company, but like you're worth it, you know, like you can do that. So how did you, when did you realize that you could do that? Like you had permission to do that, or you gave yourself permission to do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would have to say it was, so anyone who doesn't know my story, basically just really fast, my wife and I went through some really terrible things, and we went into like intensive counseling for 2 years to get our marriage like back to being amazing. And that's where I learned a lot of these things, with how to just deal with mental health, and was just from 2 years of insane therapy. And I just have like a very analytical business type mind. So like anything that like I learned, I kind of like filed away and was like, you know, so it was very helpful. And so anyways, all that aside, so when it was definitely one of the sessions in there where I was just like, just very overwhelmed. And my therapist was just, his name's Sam. And Sam was just like,
shout out to Sam.
Yeah. Shout out to Sam. Thanks for saving my life and my marriage. So he was basically just like, well, why don't you just like process it? Just be silent for a moment. Just like, cause I would just be like, I feel like this, blah, 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 like this. I don't know if this is right. Like, I don't even know how to know what I'm feeling. Like all of these kind of things. He's just like, well, stop. Just like stop for a second. And just try and feel, he always said, try and figure out what you're feeling in your body, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah.
So he's just like, what physically are you feeling? If you don't know what you're feeling emotionally, what are you feeling physically? Like no matter what it is. And I always be like, well, my chest like feels like it's flexing a little bit. Like it feels like tight, you know? And he's like, okay, like when's the last time you like felt like that? And I would be like, maybe like 2 days ago in a moment of frustration at work. Like I like really tensed my muscles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, like why were you frustrated? And then I'd be like, well, because this guy did this. And be like, oh, like, would you say that he let you down in a sense and blah, blah, blah? Be like, yes. And you're like, okay, when's the previous time. And then we'd kind of just through these questions of that, you'd kind of identify a pattern.
Yeah.
And then you'd bring it back into what you're feeling currently.
Wow.
And just be like, oh yes, like this is because I was let down.
Almost following like the breadcrumbs to your soul.
Yes.
In a way.
Yep. He was a lot more, Sam, don't be mad, but he was a lot more cartoonish about it. he was a little bit like afterwards I'd be like, that was such a cool like journey that we like took to like figure this out. You know what I mean? He's like, yeah, we're like explorers. We like get our little explorer hat and like, I just like cool. Totally visualized like a cartoon or something. It was just
that's amazing.
Okay, cool, Sam. Yeah.
What like, so my counselor, her name's Elizabeth. She does a lot of muscle therapy and, all of the stuff, like I've gone to her for maybe like 2.5 years. I just started going back to her and it's amazing. But like your body is trying to tell you what's going on inside, whether emotionally, mentally, like everything that you're feeling, like your body is like screaming at you to be like, pay attention to me.
Yeah.
That's something I've learned and, still struggle with like paying attention to that and being aware, like, oh, like I got to take a moment. Yep. Like you were saying, I got to recenter myself. I got to tune in, you know, because I'm like, I get that tightness in my chest too. And like, as you were talking, it was like clicking. I'm like, oh my God, I should do that more. I need to do that more. And it was a great reminder to like, it's
so hard to remember to do it, especially in the moment.
Yeah.
You know,
well, especially like, let's just be honest, like it's so loud in your head.
Yeah.
You know, and in your heart, everything's clamoring, at least in my head and my heart, everything is clamoring for attention. And not everything like the monsters get out of the box sometimes. And it's hard to corral them and be like, what is important? What do I need to actually pay attention to? What's even real or what's like this, what's getting affected by something else? And almost like following back into like the breadcrumbs of like, what's your body telling you? I'm going to try that. At least to like kind of process through those things because like, I feel like our bodies are always trying to tell us something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so interesting too. It goes into a lot of like the health side too. Like, and I can only speak from experience, but someone that, I used to work with, like slowly started like putting on weight and like started not taking care of herself very much. And it was just like a direct physical, like outcome of her mental state.
Wow. Yeah.
Like she was going through some horrible things, but wasn't talking to anybody about it. And like, you could just see this, degradation of like just her physical appearance.
Yeah.
Thankfully she's like gotten healthy and stuff like that from now, but it's just I was just always really fascinated by that because I was like, look at the direct result that your mental state has on your physical body.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing with me. Like I used to weigh 310 pounds.
Yeah.
And when I was clinically depressed, I didn't want to be here anymore. And when I finally just decided to make a life change, like I lost about 125 pounds from that.
Yeah.
And it was all mental. It was all psychological.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh, so what was the deciding factor of like, I need to make a change. I can make a change, or at least I'm going to try. Like, what was that experience for you?
So I was really young, so I definitely did not have all of the, you know, like therapy insights that I do now. But I was just sick of it, man.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, well, if I'm not going to kill myself successfully, which I didn't. Even though I tried, I was just like, if this isn't going to be something that I can actually do, then like I need a change in something. Like I'm so sick of feeling like this. It was just like being fed up. It kind of is what got me to that point when I was 16. I was 310 pounds at 16, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. You know, like if I'm going to continue on living, I can't live like this anymore. So like Atkins was really popular. So 16 years ago. So that was about 14 years ago. So I was just like, this is the diet I've heard on the TV. So I'm going to just try it.
Totally.
And that's just where I started, you know?
I think like what you just said is like, I just started. Like starting, I believe, is like the hardest part in anything: business, mental health, physical health, anything. I was actually even, this might be a little bit off topic for this podcast, but I was even wishing I would have said that in our first podcast when we were talking about starting your menswear journey. I was like, I would go back and edit it now and say, just start. As long as you start. My buddy Jay Gatz told me this as well. We were talking about like history and culture specifically, but it applies for this too. Just start, and then you'll start connecting dots to things. You know what I mean? Like you're just start now, and then eventually you start just connecting dots, and you'll get deeper and deeper with your knowledge. And I think that's true for most things. How would you? What advice would you give to someone who either is struggling with mental health, struggling with physical health, bad friendships, relationships, damaged like feelings, like where I know that's a broad range of topics, and there's no simple answer, but what advice could you give to someone who needs to start, just like take that first step into whatever it is?
Well, it's, again, I just had a really long talk with my buddy, so that's why this conversation keeps coming up in my head. But what I told him was, every single day that you don't like make a change in your life is going to be a day lost, like in your life. So like every single day, it's not going to get better. It's either going to stay the same or it's going to get worse, you know? So it's what I would tell someone like struggling with mental health is, one, like really assess what's causing you trauma and what's causing you to feel this way, and like what's causing you to be depressed. Like if it is friends, it's time to say bye. Like that's it. It's time to say bye. If it's an abusive relationship, like get help to get out of it. Like if it's an abusive friendship, get help to get out of it. Like mentally and physically, like, you know, and if you can't get out of it, like I was in an abusive scenario with like, you know, some family at some point even. And like, I couldn't just move away because I was too young. But like, what I wish I would have done though was just like found something to be grateful for and like grow that, you know? Whether it was, you know, whether it's like music, if you're into music and like playing it or listening to it or whatever, and like just starting to recognize that these people that are causing you this pain, like you don't have to carry their burdens. Like they're clearly going through their own struggles, and unfortunately you're the reciprocant of it. Which really sucks. But first step is to just recognize that it sucks. Like that's a really, you know, it's really hard, and it's okay to like feel really angry and like sad about that. But just as soon as you're able to recognize that and able to just kind of feel those kind of feelings about it, then take something you're grateful for, something positive, and start growing that. And it's what I think happens a lot of times with people is they can't just start recognizing that, one, it's not their fault. You know, like that's such a huge thing.
100%.
One, it's not your fault that other people are abusing you or betraying you or whatever. That's their bad decisions.
And that has, I would also add this: other people's behavior towards you doesn't affect your worth.
Yeah, that's good.
I think that's a huge thing that I need to remember, like consistently. And whoever you are, if you're listening to this, like you're worthy of love, you're worthy of acceptance, and you are beautiful just the way you are. Like today, you can always grow, but I don't believe that people do or should necessarily change at the core. I think things get twisted. We start believing, start believing lies about ourselves, about the world. And like maybe the first step is to, like for you, is to just think about yourself differently. You're not like, you don't have to be what everyone says, this is what you are. Because if you're anything like me, I'll just be like, well, that's all I'll ever be. And for myself, I'm living proof that that's not true.
Yeah, me too.
And I think if you take anything away from this discussion, is that you have value and you are valuable. And I think everyone on this planet has worth. And sometimes the first step is believing that.
Yeah, I agree. One of the crazy things that's like such a simple concept that like really helps me is just like letting things play out. It's, you know, because I have like such a need to try and like control everything.
Me too. Yeah.
So like something that's like just so surreal, not surreal, but it's so relieving is to know that I don't have control, and just and just know that whatever happens, whether it's like a fight with a friend or it's like this person gets hurt from something that I do or whatever, is just like dealing with it when it happens.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like you're kind of just like giving up control that things, or you're just recognizing and marking that things are out of your control, that life is out of your control.
Yeah.
And like what makes life so beautiful is that you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that you can just deal with things when they happen the best way that you can, which is why I think I'm always still open to finding the lifelong friend, and like, always open to making my marriage stronger with Lynn and everything is that I don't know what's going to happen. And if it's bad, then I'll deal with it when it happens. And if it's good, I'll celebrate it when it happens.
Yeah.
And if it's sad, I'll grieve with it when it happens.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's the old adage of the only thing you can actually control in life is how you react to life, or respond, maybe is a better word. Awesome. Well, this was a great talk, and I appreciate you being vulnerable and just open-handed with your life.
Vulnerability is strength, man. That's something a lot of people, I'd love to see more, and that's one of the reasons why we exist as a brand, is to just encourage men to just talk and be more open about their stories and their life. And because that's, you know, I don't think I could be more confident in telling you all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't change anything about me. So like, why not open it up and like learn from your experiences as well?
Yeah. 100%. Awesome. Well, that does it here. That does it for us here.
Stay classy.
Stay classy, San Diego. That does it for us here at Dressing for Wellness. I'm Stephen De La Roche.
I'm Taylor Draper.
We'll see you next week. Take care.